So, considering how my mascots are deer, and the channel's logo is a deer, and so is the members' badges, and not forgetting the fact that I publish several research on deer, people might think this is the channel if you want to know stuff about deer. Well, if I had a nickel for every time I make a deer video, I would have two nickel, which is wow, I'm quite surprised actually. I could have sworn I made a long video about Antler, but I guess that was just my memory of writing research article, not a YouTube video script. At this point, I might as well joke about it and never make any video that have anything to do with deer again. And honestly, I was about to do a fake out and talked about musk deer instead, because that's not a deer. But no, let's finally actually talk about a deer. One that is quite unique among the family, the water deer. So, let me bring up the question. What exactly is water deer? Water deer are deer, and that means they are chordates, vertebrates to be exact, they are mammals, and they are artiodactyls, also known as even-toed ungulates. Keep in mind though, that's not because the members have even number of toes. It's because they bear their weight on even number of toes. Unlike their look-alike, water deer are true deer in the Cervidae family. Said look-alike are the musk deer by the way, which is their own family, Moschidae. In the past, water deer are classified within the Moschidae family, which is understandable considering how similar they are. But phylogenetic analysis placed them as a primitive member of the Cervidae instead. But that's also in the past. Based on recent phylogenetic analysis, their closest relative is Capreolus, the roe deer. So that would mean water deer are a derived group of deer, not primitive. Oh, and by the way, while we are looking at this phylogenetic tree, I would like to point out that Moschidae is closer to bovids than to deer. Animal systematic is quite something, huh? In the past, water deer are classified within its own subfamily, Hydropotinae. But then they were moved to Odocoileinae, nowadays often synonymized with Capreolinae. This subfamily was called the New World deer, while Cervinae was called the Old World deer. But that doesn't exactly make sense after some taxonomic revision because some members of Capreolinae exclusively live in the Old World. The preferred common name for them nowadays is the telemetacarpal deer for Capreolinae and plesiometacarpal deer for Cervinae, due to the structural difference of their metacarpal bone. Water deer are their own genus though, Hydropotes. Right now, there is only one valid species in this genus, which is Hydropotes inermis. Their name is quite funny for me because Hydropotes means water drinker. Are they the only deer that drink water? Absolutely not. What else would deer drink? I guess they were given that name because they were often found near water body, so they look like they are always about to drink. Maybe. I'm just trying to rationalize the name. Meanwhile, inermis means unarmed because they don't have antler. This is why I say they are quite unique among the family. And this is why they are thought to be a primitive branch of deer. Because when people think about deer, they most likely would associate antler with it. I mean, sure, does and fawns typically don't have antler, but come on, who wouldn't think of the male ones when thinking about deer, right? But still, even though water deer don't have antler, they aren't exactly unarmed. It might be obvious by now because I should have shown you some images by now, but yes, they have a pair of exceptionally prominent tusks. It's not as practical and convenient as antlers though, in my humble opinion at least. But hey, at least they have something. I've seen people giving them the nickname vampire deer because of this tusk, but that nickname is also given to musk deer, and even muntjac sometimes. If a group of animals that are closely related share the same nickname, then sure, I would be fine with it. But several genera that are not even closely related sharing the same nickname? I don't know, man. Either you specifically use vampire deer for only water deer, or just call them water deer to avoid confusion. When I was still a university student, almost all articles that talked about Hydropotes inermis write their common name as Chinese water deer, which is fine, I just didn't think it would be Chinese. And their distribution is not even limited to China. They are famously native to China and Korea. However, they could technically be found in Russia. In fact, This 2022 publication showed that they expand their range towards the northeast, and that led to the discovery of some individuals in Russia. The reason why they are, or at least were, often specifically written as Chinese water deer in some articles is, the Korean water deer was considered to be a separate species from the Chinese water deer, given the name Hydropotes argyropus. This is based on the fact that their distribution supposedly doesn't overlap and their pelage coloration is supposedly different. Argyropus means silverfoot, by the way. After further phylogenetic analysis, zoologists think they are not separate species, so they are demoted to subspecies level. Hydropotes inermis for the Chinese water deer, and Hydropotes inermis argyropus for the Korean water deer. However, later analysis showed that their difference might not even be significant enough to be considered as two different subspecies. But I don't think we got any resolution on this. Not yet, at least. We'll see what happens in the future. Now, let's talk about their morphology. But before that, among the deer, I would say water deer are around the middle in terms of size. They are around 80 to 100 centimeters long, with around 40 to 60 centimeters in shoulder height, which is relatively smaller compared to the average deer, but not among the smallest deer either. They have chestnut-colored top coat, while their undercoat has two seasonal variants. In summer, it's blackish, while in winter, it's grayish. Meanwhile, the fawns have these white patches, which will disappear when they got their adult coat. Like I said earlier, the thing that makes them unique among the deer, or at least among the extant deer, is the fact that they don't have antler. Even poodoos, which are the smallest deer with the smallest antler, and the tufted deer, which antlers are not even that noticeable most of the time, still have pedicles, these protuberance from their frontal bone. Meanwhile, water deer have none of that. Nothing. They feel bald. Actually, instead of calling them vampire deer, how about you call them bald deer instead? That's a really bad idea actually. Please don't do that. But anyway, I just want to point out that roe deer, which is their supposed closest relative, still have noticeable pedicle. So yeah, although their skull could be similar in many aspects, pedicles and antlers are not among those similarities. Because they don't have antlers, it might be quite difficult to differentiate males from females, but they do have sexual dimorphisms. Males have thicker neck, and they have wider nose bridge. The color around their nose tends to also be darker. However, the easiest tell is their tusk. Males have significantly longer tusks. Their tusks could even reach 6 centimeters long, while females typically don't exceed 1 centimeter. Speaking about tusks, people often say that's also the unique trait of water deer. But like I said earlier, muntjac have it, tufted deer have it, and of course, musk deer have it. So it's not that exclusive. And now, the most important question. Well, not really, but let's just say it is. How to differentiate between water deer and musk deer? Honestly, it's not even that difficult. The coat of musk deer is typically darker. Some species of musk deer also have these easily noticeable white lines on their neck. Though, some musk deer species do have chestnut coat like the water deer. So let's take a look at other traits. Water deer have smaller orbit than musk deer, hence smaller eyes. Water deer also have wider, rounder ears. And so, looking at their face, water deer looks fluffier. That's the easiest way to say it, I suppose. Another thing, you could look at their nose. Water deer have this white patch right around their nose. While musk deer do have white patches sometimes, it doesn't sit right above the nose. Sometimes it's not even noticeable. And yeah, those are the traits that you could consider when trying to differentiate them. Of course, if we consider their skeletal morphology, anatomy, and their behavior, these two are completely different. I mean, like I said earlier, musk deer are not even deer. They are closer to bovids. But I understand that looking at an image might not make it obvious, so I told you how to differentiate them based on some traits that I think are easy enough to notice. Next, let's talk about their ecology. Earlier, I did say they were often found near water bodies, but of course, they don't literally idle near streams all the time. They don't like closed forests. Instead, they inhabit meadows with shrubs and tall reeds, but also swamps, mountains, and patchy forests. They are good swimmers, so their common name at least fit them, I suppose. But as you might have already know, they are not the only deer that are good at swimming. In their natural habitat, they typically eat forbs and woody plants, especially the leaves and twigs. In other areas though, where they are introduced, especially in the UK, they mainly eat grasses and herbs. Unlike many other deers, they are solitary, especially the males. Even the females rarely form groups, and if they do, it's typically only a small group of two individuals. Because they are mainly solitary, they don't exhibit many social behaviors that other deer species exhibit, such as grooming each other and marking partners. Though they are peaceful towards each other. That is until mating season, which lasts around November to January. Breeding males will become territorial, and they will mark their territory with urine and feces. Breeding males will settle territorial dispute by fighting. But wait a moment, they don't have antlers. How do they fight each other? Pachycephalosaurus? Yeah, absolutely not. They fight each other with their tusks, and because their tusks are indeed sharp, veteran males typically have long scars, even ripped ears like this. They also use their forelegs, by the way. By that I mean, they will stomp their opponent if they got the chance. Hence, some are observed to have limping legs. Quite rough, huh? But yeah, like many other deer, the male that controls the territory pretty much get all the females within said territory. That male will emit mating call, sniffs the females, and if the female is receptive, they will mate. Gestation period lasts around 170 days, which is relatively short among deer. They will typically give birth on May or June, with average litter size of 2.5 per female. It's a statistical average, of course. They give birth to 2 to 4 offsprings. Some even recorded a litter size of 8 actually, but that's exceptional. The mother will take care of the offsprings, but they will be weaned after around 3 weeks, which is really fast by the way, at least among deer. Fawns will be independent at around 3 months, and they will start their solitary life. They will reach adulthood after around 6 months, which again, is really fast among deer. In the wild, they can live for up to 8 years, while in captivity, they can survive until their 11th years. Based on their fossil records, or mostly subfossil that is, earlier than 11,000 years old, water deer were once distributed towards the Japanese archipelago and even towards Southeast Asia. As of right now though, their distribution is quite limited. Hence, the population decline is obvious. They are categorized as vulnerable by the IUCN Red List. However, because the Siberian tiger and Amur leopard in Korea went extinct, they lost their natural predator. Hence, their population in Korea actually grows, which is quite something to say the least. While we do have some subfossil of them, we are still lacking in terms of fossil specimens, like actual fossil. Earlier in this video, I did mention that zoologists are still figuring out whether they are a primitive form of deer, hence they haven't developed antlers, or they are derived, hence they lost their antler later, for whatever reason. Maybe if we find some fossil hydropods in the future, then we could formulate a better answer to the mystery. But yeah, who knows what we'll learn in the future. But for now, let's just learn what is known. And that's all for now. Oh, by the way, I originally was about to make a video on Muntiacus, but it made me remember Muntiacus montanus, so I decided not to. Anyway, enjoy your day.